Ubisoft Quartz, the company's embarrassing attempt at trying to normalize NFTs, that endeavor has gone so poorly that now Ubisoft is pretending as if this whole time they were just researching, they were just testing the waters, they really weren't pushing for NFTs that hard. Except if you look at the history of Ubisoft Quartz, you'll know that Ubisoft was riding hard on this fad. So it all began back in December 7th, 2021 when they introduced Ubisoft Quartz. And from the outset, the nefarious goals surrounding this endeavor were clear. As reported by Video Games Chronicle here, Ubisoft is adding NFT to its games, starting with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. There's a particular quote from Ubisoft that says everything that needs to be said. It reads right here, "Our long-term efforts led us to understand how blockchain's decentralized approach could genuinely make players stakeholders of our games." It's not about advancing game design. It's not about improving gaming. It's about turning players into stakeholders. It's about the money. It didn't take long before backlash got pretty severe, with their announcement trailer having been so massively disliked that it got unlisted. Only 1.7 thousand upvotes versus a whopping 45,000 downvotes. An overwhelmingly negative reaction. Even developers within Ubisoft did not understand the company's NFT push either. The Ubisoft leaders insisted on shoving this in not only players' faces, but also employees' faces. Ubisoft boss tells employees that NFTs are just the beginning. Meanwhile, the French trade union criticized Ubisoft's Quartz NFTs as useless, costly, and ecologically mortifying. And in the days following Ubisoft Quartz launch, very few people were interested, with this thread right here detailing how few the volume of sales were surrounding Ubisoft's Quartz. Meanwhile, Ubisoft tried to do some PR damage control by insisting that they're gonna stay true to their principles. What principles? Scrolling down, you'll find more exact quotes. "We'll stay true to our 3 principles. We'll use the technology responsibly and build a safe environment." Ah yes, nothing says principle, responsibilities, and safe environment like the NFT landscape, which is a wild, wild west rife with scams and schemes and cons. In that same article, Ubisoft tried to appeal to those who abhor NFTs by saying that we understand where NFT hate comes from, but as Kotaku aptly points out here, they don't understand shit and are just saying whatever they need to say to try to maintain a positive image, which they've epically failed at. Especially after Ubisoft executive Nicolas Pollard talked down to NFT protesters, insisting that we just don't get it. We don't understand the benefits that NFTs could bring us, but when asked, okay, so what are the benefits? He just couldn't answer. He said, "We know it's not an easy concept to grasp. The puzzle will be revealed and understood by our players one of these days. Why don't you just tell us now, you know, if you want to garner positive PR and make us understand why keep it all cryptic?" That's because they have no freaking clue how NFTs will actually benefit players. All they know is how they'll benefit companies. Ubisoft touted how with NFTs there's going to be an opportunity to resell items once players are finished with them or they're finished playing the game itself. First of all, if that's what video games are going to become, e-commerce, then fuck that. And second of all, you can already do all of this without NFTs. So NFTs actually adds nothing new to the table other than the ability to turn art into investment opportunities. But Ubisoft assures it's really beneficial, but they don't get it for now. We're too stupid to understand apparently, when the reality is we have enough common sense to see a scam, especially when all the talk surrounding NFTs revolves around owning a percentage of a huge ecosystem and how that might be even more interesting than just owning a game today. What? If I cared more about owning a percentage of an ecosystem than the joy of playing video games and experiencing the artistry in them, I'd go to freaking Wall Street. You can see right here, it's all about incentivizing players to spend money. The model of play to earn is about allowing players to make their own money by adding value to the whole ecosystem. It's not here's how NFTs will improve games, it's here's how NFTs will pave the road for new avenues for players to give us more money. And then finally, it's saddening to see there's still some resistance based on misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding here. Using common sense will reveal what a con the whole NFT landscape is. And you've got to love how when Ubisoft is asked about one potential good use of NFTs that could be beneficial to players, do you guys see a future where players own the games themselves? That's when Ubisoft's like, oh no, that's not the focus today. Suffice to say that nobody was falling for their bullshit, and even when Ubisoft tried to gift employees NFTs to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Ghost Recon or something, employees expressed how little such a gift appealed to them. Especially given that Ghost Recon Breakpoint shut down its live service earlier this year. So for those who bought NFTs for this ecosystem, congratulations, you're left holding a whole lot of nothing, basically. The game's still up and running. Their servers haven't been shut down, but the live service component is discontinued now. They're not releasing any new updates for this game. With all that in mind, that brings us to today's headlines. You'll find articles with titles such as Ubisoft finally realizes everyone hates NFTs, says it's just researching, honest. And then here's one more from Ars Technica, whose headline reads, Ubisoft is pretending it was never really that interested in NFTs. And indeed, that's the impression Ubisoft is trying to give off in this interview that they did with GamesIndustry.biz. The headline is titled, Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, he said, I think we are a company that can be proud of itself. Aside from spouting BS about how well they've handled the culture of harassment, abuse, misconduct, and discrimination that was exposed at the company, when so many employees are claiming that Ubisoft executives and leaders haven't done enough to rectify the situation, and perpetrators haven't faced nowhere near the consequences that they should be facing. He also spouted bullshit about Ubisoft's NFT ambitions, and as headlines that I previously showed you relay, he pretended like they're just researching, they weren't taking NFTs that seriously. This is a quote that sister site to GamesIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, got after they asked for an update on NFTs and their involvement with crypto. Here's what Guillemot said. We really look at all the new technologies. We're very much on cloud and on the new generation of voxels, and we're looking at all the Web3 capabilities. We tested a few things recently that are giving us more information on how it can be used and what we should do in the universe of video games. So we're testing ground with some games, and we'll see if they really answer the players' needs, but we're still in research mode, I would say. You've got to love how much the tone has shifted. Initially, they were all, you guys just don't get it. You need NFTs. Gaming needs NFTs, and you don't understand it yet, but one day the puzzle will unravel itself. For now, though, just accept NFTs so we can benefit you. And now they're like, oh, we'll see if players need this. Let's see if this really answers the players' needs. For now, though, we're just testing the waters. It's just research mode. He continues, we probably were not good at saying that we are researching. Not only did you never say it was just research, you straight up said that NFTs are just the beginning to your employees and to players in the gaming community. You insisted that it's not an easy concept to grasp. The corporations understand far more and far better than us lowly common folk do, and we just don't get, gamers don't get what NFTs could do for them. You are pushing NFTs hard. It wasn't just research. You were insisting this was the future. You were all in on NFTs until it backfired epically after crypto and NFTs as a whole began to crash, interest began to wane, and I mean, Ubisoft Quartz is something that never kicked off in the first place with abysmal sales volume and just universal, overwhelming backlash and negative sentiment surrounding this endeavor. And yet Yves Guillemot here has the audacity to say that we should have said we were working on it, not taking it seriously, just working on it. And when we have something that gives you a real benefit, we'll bring it to you. I love how he cannot, to this day, tell you what the benefits of NFTs are. They haven't figured out the benefits of NFTs, and yet, not long ago, they insisted that you want NFTs in your video games. We just don't get the benefits. And that's why back then when they were asked, what are the benefits? Tell us, clear up this so-called misunderstanding. They couldn't because they don't know what the real benefits of NFTs are to players. And that's in full display right here when we have something that gives you a real benefit. So you guys launched this knowing full well there's no benefit to us, that it was all corporately beneficial. And yet you lied to us back then, telling us that we should just accept that NFTs are good for us. This is proof that Ubisoft rushed NFTs to launch without really even remotely thinking about the gamers and the players and the customers. All they were thinking about is, oh, the investors will be happy to hear that we've launched NFTs, and oh, how can we take advantage of this to serve our corporate interests? If a company decides to launch a product or service without thinking of the benefits to customers first, then you know for a fact that benefits to customers is nowhere close to their number one priority. Yves Guillemot then tries to compare NFTs to other boundary-pushing technologies for gaming. As a company, we went into VR early, into the Wii early. We always try new things. Except Wii is an actual video games console, and yes, they went for something different, but it was not some BS about turning art into investment opportunities or trying to turn players into shareholders. It was just a different take on a gaming console. And same thing with VR. That pushes the ways we interact with gaming forward or to new areas that we never explored before. Those are gaming devices that can actually serve gaming in interesting ways. NFTs are nowhere close to that. NFTs are all about the commodification of art, of creating artificial scarcity where there doesn't need to be, and encouraging players to spend money on something that is financially unsafe, unpredictable, and speculative. How is any of that comparable to something like the Wii and VR headsets, which are new ways to play games rather than new ways to spend on games? The quote finishes off with, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always to make sure we can bring a new experience to players that will be innovative and interesting. Oh, don't make me laugh, Ubisoft. You weren't looking for innovative and interesting ways for players to play games. You were looking for innovative and interesting ways to manipulate players into spending money and into pooling their money into your ecosystem. The goal of the company is always to create the best experience. Yes, their number one priority isn't to serve the investors, isn't to serve their stock price and their bank accounts. It is 100% all to our benefit. That's their top priority. I bet these CEOs have sleepless nights thinking about, oh my God, are we benefiting the customers enough? Are we really doing what's best for them? And new technologies are always good for that because there is less competition and people are more interested to try new things on new technology when it actually feels like it's pushing the boundaries of the medium and not pushing the boundaries of corporate monetization. Exploring doesn't mean launching, Guillemot insists. Oh no, Ubisoft Quartz is out. It's launched. I mean, yes, it is in beta, as Ubisoft labeled it, but it's out there. You know, people can spend money on Ubisoft Quartz. The ecosystem is live. It's just barely anyone is participating in it. Guillemot concludes with, this industry is evolving quickly and it's very cautious about the impact it will have. Like so many things at the beginning, it's not as good as it could be, but like other new technologies that will find the right way. Oh no, with these kinds of monetization schemes, it's better at the beginning. Loot boxes used to be much less egregious back in the day. Look how much they've pushed the boundaries of that. Look what Diablo Immortal pulled and got away with. The microtransactions have only gotten worse. The loot boxes have only gotten worse. And I have little doubt that if NFTs are normalized in gaming, they're going to get worse and worse in terms of how egregious they get, what they demand from players, and how they influence and impact game design, and how they diminish the integrity of the game, and how they ruin the potential of a work of art. So yeah, Yves Guillemot just spouting a whole bunch of bullshit just to save face from the fact that their big push for NFTs backfired epically. Just they landed on their faces with that one. But we can take solace in the fact that NFTs are really not gaining traction in the gaming landscape, and companies have been forced to dial back their enthusiasm towards NFTs. EA did so recently with a recent financial briefing featuring executives who were more hesitant to say that they're fully leaning on NFTs, whereas before they would say, oh, NFTs are the future. Plenty of companies like Microsoft and Mojang and Valve and most recently Embracer Group denouncing NFTs and the role that they play in video games. There's just a lot of pushback, and it doesn't seem like NFTs will gain any traction until they start to show tangible benefits. In their current implementation, NFTs are nothing but a fad, a scam, a con job. And people see through that, you know, and especially after all of the different ways that companies have tried to deceive people, have tried to gouge them of their money, manipulate them into spending and all these things. People are more wary than ever. And now we're at a point where even Ubisoft is backtracking their stance on NFTs and how heavily they're leaning into it. And the messaging surrounding NFTs has become less enthusiastic and more tepid, more, oh, we're just dabbling in it, rather than, oh, you guys need this. They're beginning to realize that no amount of lying and bullshitting is going to interest people in NFTs, so long as NFTs remain just a vague and corporately beneficial concept whose technology so far hasn't been used in a way that will improve gaming or that will improve players' experiences. That, ladies and gentlemen, is one man's take surrounding the latest developments with Ubisoft Quartz, with Ubisoft's NFT endeavors, which has gone abysmally. Share your thoughts about all of this in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.